Hello, I'm Denise Galoni. Welcome to today's episode of Empowering You. I'm very excited. This is episode number 25 of Empowering You. I'm actually in the studio today for this episode. And I don't just have a guest. I have a guest host who's going to interview me today. My guest host is Marilee Smith, who's a drama disruptor. I'm really excited today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Today I'm in the studio and my guest host is Marilee Smith. I'm going to turn over to Marilee to introduce herself. Can you tell the audience who you are, Marilee?
Yeah, I absolutely will. Thanks, Denise. Hi, everybody. My name is Marilee Smith, and I am a drama disruptor. What does that mean? I'm a life and leadership coach. I am extremely passionate about giving people and teams the tools to really be in control of their thoughts, their emotions, and their energy, because let's face it, in this crazy, chaotic world that we're in, there's not many things we can control, but that's absolutely one thing that we can control, so we can show up and live a very, very best life. And I am beyond honored and thrilled today to be able to be Denise's guest host, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about what that is.
Yeah, this is a very special time because you'll notice I'm actually back in the studio, which I haven't been in for a long time, almost 2 years, back in the studio, because this is episode number 25 of Empowering You. So what I thought would be fun is for me to be the guest today and Marilee interview me, because I do get a lot of questions from people. So I thought we'd turn the tables around a little bit and have her interview me, and let's see what happens with me sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no drama today, right?
Yeah,
Marilee?
right. We'll try and keep the drama on the down low.
Yes.
Well, first of all, happy anniversary.
Thank
Yay,
you.
25 episodes. That's exciting.
25 episodes. The first show I ever did was Empowering Women, and I did 30 episodes of that.
Okay.
And I ended that show in 2019. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2020, the pandemic. And then I decided to do another show. They reached out to me and said, well, why don't you do your show virtually? So most of my show I do virtually because I can interview anyone in the world virtually.
Yeah.
So
right,
this is number
exactly.
25. So I'm very excited, very thankful to BPTV and let me do this.
Yeah. No, so thank you for sharing about the Empowering Women. I think I did know that, but that actually slipped my mind.
It was a while ago.
So let's back up to that a little bit, though, because it sounds like obviously that's what catapulted this show right now.
Yes, yes.
What sparked you to actually ever even decide to do a show?
Well, I was being interviewed, and I don't know if anyone ever heard this story. I was being interviewed in my house. There was a new show that BPTV started, and they would interview local businesses. And of course, I work from home, so they came to my house to interview me, and I thought it was so cool. And I asked the cameraman, I said, well, how do I get my own show? And it happened to be Dave Cable that runs BPTV, and he asked me, well, what do you want to do? What type of show? And I had no idea because I didn't think that part through. And I said, I want to interview people. And he said, who do you want to interview? And I said, well, I'll get back to you on that, because I wasn't really sure. And that morphed into Empowering Women.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so important to empower people all the time.
Yeah, and to be able to give people just that, the light, the stage a little bit, just to share a little bit about who they are and what they do and how they can really contribute to the world, really bringing that visibility to people as well.
Yes. And then whenever I came back to do Empowering You, I decided to make it more broad and also bring men, because Empowering Women wasn't just for women, but I had mostly women guests.
Yes.
So now with Empowering You, I could bring all the wonderful gentlemen that I know and have them give information out. And I hope that it helps people that are watching. Maybe someone's sitting at home thinking, oh, I don't know if I could begin this health journey. And they see one of my guests talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason for both of the shows.
Yeah, I love that. So what would you say has been so now that you've gone virtual, and again, we're in the studios today, so that's exciting.
Yes.
You said you could interview anybody from anywhere. Where's the furthest spot that you've interviewed somebody from?
The furthest spot was probably Las Vegas.
Okay.
Las Vegas. I am talking to someone that's in Canada. I'll be interviewing him later in the fall.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So lots of people. There's just so many wonderful people out there.
Yeah. And how are you finding those that you're intrigued by and you want to bring to the light?
A lot of the people are actually in my network of friends, people that I know, people that I see, maybe I follow on LinkedIn or Facebook, and they're just doing amazing things. So I want to interview them. And I always say the show, except for today, the show is always about the guests, not me. Just because I want them to showcase what they do and how they can help people to help everyone that's watching.
Yeah, love it. That's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit more about Denise then. So we've talked about the show.
Yes.
So Denise, I'm also very inspired by you, and it was so interesting to be reminded that you and I both went through the same master's program at Carlo, which was an amazing program.
It was an amazing program.
It truly
hard.
Yes,
Very difficult.
Hard to get back to school after all those years. But
It really was.
Truly was. But what I love about when I was reading through your bio, and the more I've gotten to know you, you and I have so much in common because we are both so passionate about helping people, specifically in that leadership space. So
Yes.
tell me, and so that sparked you to actually start your own business, right?
It did, yes. And a lot of people don't know, unless they know some of my bio, that when I was in high school, I was voted the quietest girl because I never said a word in school.
What?
People don't believe it. I know it is true. I have proof. So I knew as I went into the workforce and started working as a young adult, that I couldn't stay that way. I had to find my voice and actually start opening my mouth and speaking up. So that caused me to go get my master's degree in professional leadership with a focus on training and development, which was very difficult for someone that didn't like to talk to people like this, let
Yes.
alone stand in front of a group of people and talk. But it was something new. It was when I went there, and I'm dating myself a little bit, it was 1993 that I graduated from that program. The program was fairly new, just started. Yeah. So I was one of the first few classes that went through it. I knew I wanted to get a master's degree. I didn't want an MBA because that just wasn't me. When I saw this, I thought, this is it. This is going to be my life journey here. And that did cause me to start my own business after a few years, DG Training Solutions, which I started in 2014. So 8 years.
8 years, okay.
8 years. And that's what led me to where I am today.
Love it. I always love hearing the journey because it is a journey, right?
It's
Our
a
life
journey.
is such a journey and it's constantly always evolving. So with DG Training Solutions, what are some of the biggest things that you focus on there? I know we talked about leadership communication,
Right.
but what are some of the things that you're most passionate about or you feel like is your superpower whenever you're working with people and leaders?
And I've really narrowed it down to leadership and communication.
Yeah.
Because when I go and work in corporations, that's normally the issues, leadership or communication.
Yeah, that's what starts drama.
That's where our drama, there we go, right?
Yes.
And I can normally tell after just being there for a little while or asking some questions, some discovery questions, normally it's a communication issue. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a leadership issue, but normally it's a communication with that leader and their teams.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that once you've diagnosed and you've kind of narrowed it down to what that might be, what are some of the things that you do or that you focus on when helping leaders and teams?
So I start with the leaders, helping the leaders, because a lot of times the leaders, they were put in that position, they were promoted, they have the skills, but they don't have the leadership skills. They're subject matter experts.
Yep.
And I always say, you may know a subject, but that doesn't mean you can stand in front of a room and teach it. Yeah. And the same with leaders. You may be a subject matter expert and have been in that field your whole life. That doesn't mean that you're a great leader and you're able to inspire and help others on your team. And I think we've all had great leaders and we've all had bad managers, because you don't have to be an actual leader with a title to be a leader.
Yeah, that's so true. And I can so resonate with that because before I pivoted to do more one-on-one life coaching, that's what I was doing as well. I was doing training, going through the same program, training and development and working with organizations and leaders. And you're absolutely right. You know, we put these really smart people who are amazing people in these positions, and we don't really always give them the tools or the support. Or maybe we put them into a class and they go to a class for like 2 hours on maybe how to give your employee feedback or whatever that is, and then they walk back out and they really don't have the support to make that sustainable, right? To really build those skills.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's such a ripple effect. I mean, I think we all can be attest. Like you said, some of us have worked for amazing leaders and not such amazing leaders in organizations. And so really the work that you do is just so powerful and so important. So not only are you doing that, but I also really want to highlight, and I want to congratulate you. I'm super excited that you just brought out your book. You just published your book.
Yes, finally.
Yes, that's
finally.
exciting.
It was a long journey. It's a short book, but it was a long journey to write the book. And it's Find Your Voice, the 5 keys to lead and empower others. And people think it's voice because I am a public speaker, because I go out professionally speak in front of groups. But VOICE is actually an acronym because this is a leadership book. And when I say leadership book, people think, well, I'm not in leadership. We're all in leadership because we all lead someone. Whether it's, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom, guess what? You're in leadership.
Yep.
So you're all in leadership. So it's really for anyone that wants to improve themselves. So VOICE is an acronym. The first thing you need to have when you're a leader is vision. You have to know where you're going. I give the example, if you have a vacation coming up, you don't just get in the car that morning and say, okay, we're off on vacation. You plan it. I know you just got back from a wonderful vacation in Ireland. You planned that, didn't you?
We did. That was a long time coming.
A long time, right. So we plan. We know where we want to go. We plan what we're going to do when we get there. We have this vision. And as a leader, you need to have that vision. And you need to share that vision. Again, that comes back to communication. Share so everyone knows. A mistake people make is they don't share that vision with people. They may say, okay, Marilee, I want you to do steps 5 through 7.
Yeah.
But you have no idea what steps 1 through 4 are or steps 8 through 10. So you don't know how it fits together, so you need to share that vision. So that's the V. O is obstacles and overcoming obstacles. Because guess what? They always happen. There's always obstacles. Obstacles are not always bad either. Obstacles may change the direction of how you're going to that vision, and you may find better ways to get there from obstacles. People always have a plan B. I say have a plan C, D, and E because expect the worst, and you'll always be prepared for that. I, inspire. We want to inspire everyone. Again, as a leader, and even not as a leader, you always want to inspire and empower people to help people. The biggest thing that I can do as a leader is on my team, inspire them to do better, professionally and personally, because that just benefits the whole team. C is confidence. We have to have that confidence. As a leader and anyone during your normal life, you need to have that confidence that you believe in yourself and then others will believe in you. And E is my favorite one. E is enthusiasm, because you have to be enthusiastic. No one wants to be around negative people. And I always say the E sounds like Eeyore. If you've ever watched Winnie the Pooh and know who Eeyore is, the donkey that's always, woe is me, why are these things happening to me? No one wants to be around those people. So those are the 5 keys. I wrote the book that you could actually pick up the book and read whatever you need to focus on. You do not read it from start to finish.
Love that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So many, I mean, there's just so much content out there in today's world, and to have a book that's so succinct and that I can just go to like that, and it's just a tool right there, right?
Yes, right. And a lot of them are stories from my own life, my own journey. It's been an incredible journey. It's been a hard journey. People look and say, oh, you're lucky. No, I just worked really hard, really hard. And they don't see the struggles from behind. The best graphic I ever saw on Facebook was, and you may have seen this also, is this big iceberg. And that's what people see, and you don't see underneath, like all the struggles underneath. And in your own business, you know that there are struggles. Yeah. That there, when you own your own business, there's nights where you don't sleep, but you're thinking, how am I going to pay this bill? Or where's the next job going to come from? Or how am I going to pay the people that are helping me on my team? So there's a lot of struggles people don't see behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh, so true.
Yes.
So speaking of that, what would you say would be one that really stood out to you that was a big challenge for you that you've overcome and just made you stronger?
I think I thought I knew it all, because we all think we know it all. And when I started my business back in 2014, I didn't know anyone that had their own business. But I thought, how hard could it be? I have a business degree, business management. My husband's an MBA. How hard could it be to start a business? It's very hard to start your own business. So I think through trial and error, I learned those first couple years, and I call them just my pretend years when I was just getting started in my business. The biggest obstacle was realizing that I was going the wrong direction, completely rebranding everything. And I did about 2 years ago. Rebranded everything, new website, just everything, and focused on leadership and communication, because that's what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, so really honing in
Yes.
what your superpower is,
Yes.
truly.
Yes.
So tell me how. So since I said that I am I'm very passionate about helping people really manage their thoughts, emotions, and energy. Tell me how your energy shifted when you made that change, like when you had that aha moment.
I was one of those people that thought I need to work more. If I'm not bringing enough money, I need to work more. I need to put more hours in. I need to stay up late at night. I would get 3-4 hours of sleep because I need to get everything done. I need to just keep going. And when I took a step back and thought, okay, I'm going in the wrong direction, and when I realized which the path that I need to go that direction, then things started falling in place. Now I take off most weekends. I don't really work unless I have a big project coming up. So I juggle everything during the week and it works out fine and things are a lot better. So I think finding that obstacle and going around it benefits you and what you're doing.
There's so much what you just said, and I just want to unpack it a little bit. So from your book, right, it sounds basically what you did was you applied that for yourself. And
Absolutely.
to your point, we are all leaders, and unless we're leading ourselves in our own life and really tapping into what's working and what's not, and when it's not working, instead of, that's where we can really go down that path of letting that inner critic come in and really beating ourselves up.
Right.
And wanting to maybe abandon or quit. I can recognize that as an entrepreneur. I understand.
Absolutely. We all face that. We've all faced that.
But you didn't. You got curious instead.
Right.
And kind of were just like, all right, this isn't working. And really tapped into who you were, it sounds like.
Right. Step back, lick my wounds, because of course it's a blow to your ego.
Sure.
And then regroup and come back out even stronger.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I tell people will say to me, well, I can never do what you do. I can never get in front of people and talk. We all do public speaking in our own ways. May not be in front of a stage, in front of people, but this is public speaking. There's only two of us sitting here right now, but we're public speaking.
We are.
People are seeing that.
Right.
I always tell people, no matter if it's what I do, because I went from quietest girl to doing over 500 presentations, being on over 100 media outlets. So anyone can do it. If you struggle with anything, whether it's speaking in front of people, which is the number one fear, worse than death, people are afraid of speaking in front of people, find out your why. And I always mention when I'm talking to somebody, and I don't have children, but I know you have children. Mm-hmm. Children always ask why.
Yep.
They ask why so many times. Eventually you just say, because. That's just how it is, right? Am I right?
Right.
So anytime that you struggle with something, find out why. For example, if you can't speak in front of someone, if you're afraid to speak in front of people, why is that? Keep asking why. What makes me uncomfortable? Why? Well, I start shaking. Why? And keep drilling down as far as you can until you get to that root of that problem. What is that reason? Once you find that reason, it's easier to solve that problem because there's very few problems that you can't solve.
Yeah.
But once you really know that reason, and when I have people do that, it's surprising, especially with speaking in front of people. That seems to be the biggest one. Some people are afraid that people will think they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They'll feel silly. Some people on the opposite will think, well, people think I'm a know-it-all. So people don't want to speak in front of people. They think people think they're a know-it-all, or that they're not going to have the right answer. All these things are valid, but once you find that root of that problem, then we can solve that.
Yeah. Well, really getting to the root, getting to the core.
Yes.
Right, truly getting to the core. And again, I use this, I talk about this with my clients so much, it's truly that curiosity piece. But speaking of curiosity, the other C word I want to talk about is confidence.
Yes.
So that's key. But here's the thing with that. It's easier said than done, right?
Oh my gosh.
Be confident. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what do you think is the magic pill, I guess, the magic whatever that is that really can spark confidence in somebody, do you think?
I think, again, you're right. It's easy to say, oh, be more confident. For years, I never had that confidence. Yeah. Never. So what I would say is if you need, and a lot of us struggle with confidence, just keep pushing your boundaries just a little bit at a time. You can't change everything. You can't read this book and say, okay, I'm going to change all 5 of these keys tomorrow. I'm starting. That's just impossible. You're just setting yourself up for failure. Pick one thing. If it's confidence, say, I'm going to work on my confidence. So maybe in that meeting at work, you want to put your hand up and give an answer. Or maybe you want to be more engaged with people. Or maybe you want to say hello to a stranger. Or maybe you want to ask that question that you were afraid to ask somebody. Little by little, just keep pushing the boundaries little by little. I always equate it to if you're on a health journey trying to lose weight. If you need to lose so much of weight and you haven't exercised for years and you have health problems, you can't just go out and run a marathon. You may want to get out and just walk up and down your street once or twice. Little steps. And then maybe the next week or so, make it a little bit further down the next street. Or maybe you want to do maybe 1 or 2 sit-ups, and then a couple days later, try another one. Take little baby steps until you get to where you want to be, and keep challenging and pushing yourself. It's nice to stay in our comfort zone, but you have to push yourself out of that comfort zone.
And you just took the words out of my mouth, baby steps. That's something that's
Right.
really been a game changer for me. And what happens is we get stuck in the worrying about the past or ruminating about the past, worrying about the future.
Absolutely.
And the only thing we really can control is right now in this moment and today. So
Right.
what is one thing, right, I can do today? Like you said,
Absolutely.
maybe speak up in that meeting, like whatever that is.
Right.
The other piece too I want to go back to, I think is important that you said, is that why piece. Kind of dig in a little bit about where that where you lost your confidence, like what that.
And we all have that.
We all have those moments.
We all have that one thing where you say, when did that happen? Oh, I can tell you when it happened. I was in Chicago. I could tell you exactly what I was wearing when that happened because I just
Yeah.
remember that so vividly. And we all have that spot where we lost our confidence and it shakes us. And we always think about that. I had one terrible crash and burn presentation that I did in front of a group of people, and that's always in front of my mind. Not the 499 perfect ones that I did, but that one, because we always have that. Because we keep holding on to that negativity. Get rid of that white noise. Don't pay any attention to it.
Yeah, and in my world, what I call that is an energetic block, right?
Right.
Something where there is something that happened, and that narrative, that story is, we're telling ourselves that's that good. It's the classic, I'm not good enough now,
Right,
right?
absolutely.
And that's not true. Like, it's not
You
true.
are good enough.
It's not true. You absolutely are. And again, this is a journey. And so I am quite positive that you learned a lot from that
And
experience.
it was a long journey, yes, long journey. But again, little baby steps.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes.
All right. So I think we've talked about so many important things. I guess, in today's environment, it's always challenging, and there's always positives too. I don't mean to keep painting doom and gloom, but
Right.
it is a challenging, especially with what happened over the past few years and the Great Resignation, where people are leaving jobs or trying to figure out what's their new norm and who they are. What would you say from your book, do you think, is the most critical thing that leaders need right now? I know that's a tough one because you have a lot of good stuff in here.
That is a tough one. I go back to confidence. And if you think about our military, you follow, when you're in the military, you follow your commander. You have to have confidence in them. They have to show confidence. They may not feel it at that time. And if I'm doing something, I may not feel confident, but if I walk up on that stage, I'm going to show that confidence. I'm going to show that. A long time ago, we used to say, fake it till you make it. That was an expression a long time ago. It doesn't really apply now. I mean, there's an old way of thinking. But really, you have to have that confidence in yourself. Be confident, and then people will follow you and believe in you, what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think a big issue that women have is sometimes, and I catch myself every once in a while, I do it myself, we're not sure of ourselves as women. When we say something, we may say, well, it's this way. And you almost like your voice goes up a little bit like you're asking a question because you're not sure of it. This is the way you need to do it. You need to be firm and say something and show that confidence.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's amazing. Everything builds off of here. The other thing that I would add to that, the word resilience.
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's huge. My son actually just went to a leadership camp last week, and they talked about many of these things.
Right.
And I think that was one of his biggest takeaways as well, and that gets to the obstacle piece, right?
Yes, right. Obstacles are going to happen. We're all going to have obstacles. You just need to plan for it, and there's things that you can't control. We couldn't control this pandemic.
Right.
I mean, that just affected everyone. For professional speakers, our business stopped immediately. Like, everything stopped. Conferences stopped. People were working from home. They didn't have people coming into the companies. Everything just stopped. There's nothing that I can do about that. But how I react and pivot to these obstacles that come up, that shows your resilience.
Yeah.
And you could notice that a lot of people during this pandemic, they pivoted. They changed their whole businesses. And that's what you have to do. You have to be resilient, and it's your reaction to these things that happen.
Yeah, I mean, the people and the businesses that have come out on the other side even stronger are those ones who've been able to have those skills, that agility. So I think that we've seen that more than ever, how powerful it is. And again, we're not just talking about businesses. I mean, moms,
everything.
Anybody, really, dads. I mean, just anybody these apply to, truly.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm going to go back to vision. Tell me, Denise, what's Denise's vision? now? Now that you feel like you've rebranded, like
Right.
you feel like you're more grounded, it sounds like. You've really tapped into your superpower. So where's Denise headed over the rest of this year and next year? And
Oh my gosh, I have so much going on. So many things on the horizon, my vision. Well, the book is out. I have my big book launch coming in August. August
right,
4th
yeah,
at the
the
Grand
August 4th,
Concourse.
right, yep.
The Grand Concourse.
Yep.
So that's coming out, the book launch. I'm actually just signed a contract to participate in an anthology, which is a bunch of women writing a story for a book. That's coming up in the fall. I'm working on some online courses. Actually going out there and putting together some new courses. And I just have a lot of things going on. Lots of things.
A lot of exciting things.
A lot of exciting things. Again, stepping out of my comfort zone, doing some online courses. It's been a while since I've done that.
Yeah.
Creating some more content for people because I love giving people content and just being more interactive with people.
Yeah. I love that you're doing the anthology. I have had that experience, and it's just an amazing experience to be able to be that in that camaraderie.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I have a second book that hasn't been printed yet, and that may happen too at the end of the year. And that's a book, Success as a Choice, that I actually wrote with my business coach, James Malachek. So I may get that printed this year. Yeah, the pandemic pushed everything behind a little bit, so that may come out this year.
So like Christmas time, we can get like the Denise Galani like gift pack.
You can,
Book
right?
pack, right?
Because who wouldn't want that for Christmas?
I know. Exactly. Okay, so the vision for Denise. Tell me, let's get back to the show because this is the 25th episode.
It is the 25th episode.
So what's the vision for the show? Are you able to give us any sneak peeks over the next couple episodes? Yes or no?
Oh, well, I haven't confirmed some of the guests yet, but I have some amazing people. Coming up in the fall, I have a gentleman that lives in Arizona part-time and part-time in Canada. He does a podcast. I was just on his podcast yesterday, and I believe that's coming out in August, September. And he helps people find their vision, persevere. I have another gentleman who does a podcast, and he really has overcome a lot of obstacles himself. He's going to be on the show. I just have a lot of interesting things coming up.
Great.
But I'm so excited that you were able to be here today, Marilee, and be my guest host, because this has been so much fun.
I know. Denise was like, hey, I have an idea. Do you want to interview me?
Right.
And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I was truly honored and just blessed to be here with you today. And your energy, I will talk about your energy. Your energy is infectious. So you truly live that Ian
I really
voice.
do.
You
I
really
really do.
Truly.
I do. I say that when I'm in front of someone, I'm an extrovert. When I'm home, I'm an introvert. But as soon as I flip that switch, I have that energy, whether it's on a stage or talking to someone in a meeting one-on-one. You always have to have that energy because people don't want to be around someone that's low energy and negative. It just drains you. You know, they say misery loves a crowd,
Yep.
and that's what it is. So you always have to be positive. But I want to
Very
thank
agree.
you for coming here to our
course.
studio
Yes. Yes.
and interviewing me. It's strange sitting in this chair
I'm
instead of that
sure.
chair, but it was fun.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. Thank you so much, everyone. Very excited for this 25th episode of Empowering You. Stay tuned for next month.
Yes, all kind of wonderful things coming up.
And make sure you do get a copy or checking out Denise's book, at least, because there's a lot of great tips, right?
Yes. And you can actually go on my website, DeniseAnnGaloni.com, and I have some tips on there and some free gifts for you.
Love it. And I'm excited to attend your book launch on the 4th.
Thank you, Marilee. Thank you for watching today's episode of Empowering You. Number 25. I'd like to thank my guest host today, Marilee Smith, who did a fantastic job in the interview chair, interviewing me for this special episode. Next month, I'll be back in the interview chair with some amazing guests for you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.